Well, here's a fine kettle of fish. I got a low light warning on my tire. I've got a tire that leaks every once in a while. Notice it when the temperature changes a lot. So I come up, I'm at the Irving Gas Station in Standish. And so I put air in it, go around, check the other tires, and by the time I come back around, the tire is flat. So I'm in here for a few minutes, like 40 minutes until AAA comes. I do put up filling tires sometimes because bending over with my back problems doesn't work out very good. So we're going to taste something while we're here. We're going to try this, that it's going to be insanely good. But we also have, for $5.50, a turkey and cheese triple play, an oven-baked wheat bread. Oven-baked. How else is bread baked? Solar, oh, no, that would be an oven. Deep fried, I don't know. And I guess it's what it says. It's got one slice of cheese and actually a number of slices of the turkey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 thin slices. But there's no, I'm back. I dropped the little container. Oh, triple. It's got, that's strange. It's 1 1/3 sandwiches. So they cut the sandwiches in thirds. Then we have, 2 other ones, which don't have as much in them. Yeah, less. And we also have deli mustard. Mike's amazing mustard. I'd rather have mushy mayonnaise myself. I don't like mustard that much. So this is good. It'll be filling. Sell by 10/24. That was yesterday, I think. And we got 400 calories, protein 26 grams. Chocolate milk. I worked at Oakhurst Dairy in that quality control lab for 7 months. This is really good. When I took the job, they neglected to tell me that I would be carrying, like a ton, literally a ton of milk upstairs because they hadn't got around. Oh, they're putting in a dumbwaiter. Well, it sat there all the time that I was there, unassembled, and the person I replaced said they were leaving because of this lifting they had to do. So you had to physically carry. Now, some of these guys, I was younger then, of course, but still, some of them would take 2 completely full milk cartons, which would be, 4 times a pound. Gallon water weighs 8.3 pounds. Milk weighs more, but still, 4 times 8 in each one, times 2. That's quite a bit of light weight. So I had to make more trips. There was a big parking problem too. So you had to find a place on the street to park. So when I found a new job, I left. And turns out that was not a good job that I left for. There was an electroplating firm in Gorham, Maine, that needed laboratory technician. Metals. I run atomic absorption spectrophotometers and all that stuff. So I took that job. And it was funny. I had to keep at them on whether they were going to hire me or not, which I should have realized right at the beginning was a big mistake. So sometimes when there's been sudden turnover, like one department's kind of missing, you can, before you just blame it on those employees you can't talk to anymore, might be wise to maybe scrutinize what was wrong with the company that those people left. And let's just say the person who ran the company is really mean. That's all I can say. There was an employee. This is, I wasn't here when this happened, but this was what I've been told happened after I left. There was an employee having a heart attack, and the owner encouraged them to relax a while and return to work. And one of the other workers called an ambulance, which was good because he had several heart attacks on the way into the hospital, and I believe he doesn't work anymore anywhere. What happened with me is the great ice storm of 1998. Now, the power was blinking on and off in the morning, and businesses were figuring out, no, we're going to close. We can't do this. But the company I worked for had to stay open, Money's money, I guess. And so we go in there. Every time the power glitched, the wastewater area, which was kind of it's chemical wastewater, so it's more kind of like a recovery system or something you could say, or a system to prevent certain chemicals from going out of the plant and different things. But this thing, every time the power would turn off, there were solenoids that were wired so that they would open. And so they would flood this floor. It was a berm around a certain area. So every time the power glitched, the floor get filled. So I was cleaning that several times, and one time I cleaned it, I slipped on a spot and hit my head, and I got a traumatic brain injury. Still affects me today. But anyway, that was a scoop with that. And again, the person was really upset. And I went to see the doctor. They were more like, well, I guess they wanted me to just laugh it off and, come back to work or something. But I was really bad. For 3 months, I was kind of, I do things like, I have to call this doctor today. They asked me to call. So I call them, and they'd be silence on the end of the line. And I would say to the nurse, what's the matter? She said, you just called us a half an hour ago. And it'd be like, I couldn't remember that I did it. So anyway, I had a poor sense of direction anyway, and I totally lost a little bit I have. I am so glad that GPSs became affordable. That was, in 98, there wasn't a lot of options. You had these big units, and like Magellan, I think, had one that was like $1,300. And, I looked around, and Hewlett-Packard had one, and you could do some other things on it. And so, as time goes on and I have more problems, and I'm back at work at some places, and I go and say to them, well, I'm having trouble here. If you guys bought me a GPS, which is, like I say, $500 then, it would really do a lot to help me with this condition. Oh, no. No. So they made me go, I think I went to 3 altogether, these neural exams. I forget the name of it, but it was like this entire day of testing. They tested everything, your memory, your IQ, this, that, all these different things. And it was $2,500 to take the test. They had me take it 3 days for different reasons. And it was like, they had just given me this GPS and said, yeah, here you go, Mike. Try this out. Get back to us. Hope you don't, or something like that. But, they were not going to do it. And so, later things started falling apart with my driving. And, then again, I'm getting tested, and, So, you know, I tell my doctor about, actually my sleep doctor, about some of the things that are going on. And she says, oh, you can't drive anymore. I'm like, what? She says, oh no, we don't want you on the road while you're like this. I was like, oh, okay. Then I thought, gee, I've got disability insurance. My goodness, it won't pay everything, but it will start paying me 60%. At least somehow we can squeeze by until, you know, I get to the point where I can go back to work. So I apply to it, and the company has no say in what happened with the insurance. The company I was working for then was a really good company. And the insurance company says, no, we don't believe you. We think you're faking. You can work. You could go back to work if you wanted to. And my goodness. So, you know, I can remember I went with like 8 months with no income. And one of my daughters living with me, you know, it was like $8,000. You know, I'm not positive we paid her all back, but pretty much, I guess. But, you know, I had no income coming in. And so, you know, all this rigmarole and stuff, not getting anywhere. And then my brother-in-law is a lawyer, and he says to me one time, well, you should apply for workman's compensation. You should go there, or disability even. And I thought, I'm not disabled. That's ridiculous. Well, I go in there, and, you know, I'm examined, but one group of doctors was more like, oh, no, you got to be kidding me. Nothing's wrong with you at all. And so that was the initial thing. But then during this thing where, you know, the lawyer told me to go somewhere, he gives me a name of this 80-year-old lawyer, but he was one of the few lawyers that would take cases, workman comp type disability things, when they first started. In other words, most lawyers want you to have been refused numerous times because they get a percentage. So if they just solve your case, which this guy did with me, you get paid like $600, and you've done way more than $600 worth of work. So if the guy's been struggling for 3 years, you get a percentage of those 3 years as a lawyer, and then that works out to be profitable. This guy was just like, oh no, I'll take the case. And, you know, it's funny, again, have to take one of the neuropsych evaluations again. I think it was like $1,500 then. And, you know, and then, you know, got to go to the workman's comp lawyers. I mean, not lawyers, doctors. Remember, one of the doctors has me in there, and he's asking me to do these physical things. And at one point he goes, I'm like, what went wrong? But, you know, I had done a very unsafe lifting in a previous company. Yeah, I have a lower degenerated spine. And this doctor, like, gasped when he asked me to do a certain thing, and he saw what I could do and couldn't do, as opposed to, like, earlier, I went to this doctor who basically ignored everything you said, and he had me do this thing where you stand on one foot. And I started to fall, and he caught me, so I could stand on one foot. He didn't write in that he had to catch me, you know, that I flunked it. I just obviously didn't hit the ground because he didn't let me, but it would have been the case that I would have. But anyway, go through this other evaluation, you know, then I go to this other, they make me go to some other doctor, and he's talking to me. And so then, you know, my lawyer, I were in at the workman's comp disability, whatever they are, people. And he's got some paperwork. And the guy, she's like, the woman's saying, like, don't do that. Don't send us more paper. Well, she's hinting all along that my case was so bad that they looked at it and they immediately said, oh, yeah, this guy, he's got the back thing and he hit his head. And they were like immediately had, you know, decided that I qualified. So we did all this paperwork and stuff. They were like begging the lawyer to stop. And he was like, I don't know why they're doing that. Well, afterwards we found out. So anyway, I got it. And then, of course, the long-term disability insurance had to pay me for a certain time, right? But look at this. If you have some kind of long-term disability insurance you think you do, that you're paying for, mine had this little clause in it that basically said, after 2 weeks, 2 years, we don't have to pay you. As long as we can find a job that you could do that would make 60% only of what you originally earned, that disqualifies you. It was like, and the jobs they suggested I couldn't have done, like one was like being a cashier where you just stand, for 8 hours. Couldn't do that. But none of the jobs they actually listed were things I could have done. But, at the point of it being ridiculous, we just let it go. They were obviously going to fight everything. So just a word, I guess, if you're paying for some type of paycheck, insurance, disability, short-term, long-term, you might want to look at the fine print and realize that whoever they are, they're going to dump you in 2 years because that's written into the contract. So you're really only paying for 2 years worth of 60% of your pay. So that's what happened anyway. So, so I'm going through this rigmarole. Then I'm caught in this thing where, it's been a while. I've been improving in different things. It's like, well, can I get my driver's license back? And they're like, gee, we don't know. And it's like, what do you mean you never knew? Well, technically, the original doctor didn't actually pull my license. Normally, a doctor will say, and they'll fill out a form to the state saying, this guy doesn't, you got to take this guy's driver's license away because of medical reasons. Well, she didn't do that, which was kind of good in a way. And so basically, we went all through these things. I had to get another evaluation again, again, dropping like, $1,500. And the basic end was at them saying, well, we'd like to do more driving instruction with you, but it basically boiled down to it was totally my decision because I never really actually lost my license in the first place. So, I went back to work and here we are. Should I say that? No, I actually, that sounded wrong, but because it was after that job with the electroplating place, I was out of work for a while, got a job with this new place, this company I liked, but then had the driving difficulty. Then I ended up going out on this, total disability. And like I say, for so many people I hear that are turned down, number of times, I slid right through. They thought I was bad enough. And, I got to tell you too is how old you are, what your work record looks like, influences whether they're going to give you a settlement or not, or whether they're going to count you as disabled or not. If you've had a solid work record, and you're older, your chances are much better that you're going to get it. If you have these same injuries when you're 35, and you've been through a few periods of unemployment and stuff, they'll look at that record and say, don't give it to him. And it's like, well, what if he has the same level of injury that I do? And it's like, no, they probably wouldn't because you're too young and you don't have a solid work record. So I guess that's something to consider. I heard of so many people who, at least to hear them talk, they had these horrible, horrible problems that disallowed them from working, and they keep getting turned down every time. So, all I'm saying is there's other factors besides the medical factors. And, some people have problems you can see on an x-ray, and some people don't. So it helps too to have, an x-ray that shows you have a lower generated spine, or, these tests that show some certain problems or whatever. But, so, this was actually about the Circle K triple play cheese and turkey sandwich, which is all right. I don't think I'm going to get up in the middle of the night and come down here and buy one. But it's good enough. Bye. I forgot something really important. So you're an older person you know what age, always used to be 65. Now they've changed it for different whatevers, but basically, if you're totally disabled when you hit 65, you get permanently your disability check or Social Security, whichever is higher. And the disability check was higher, so I continue to get that amount of money, which is good, but it's still like, that gray area between lower middle class and upper poor class. We're in there as far as like, don't have money, but don't quite have enough to qualify for this or that, or things like that. But I didn't want to mention that. If you're disabled, when you hit Social Security, you will get whichever of those checks is higher. So that's good.